Hello, how you doing? And welcome back to the channel. So, the teams have been named for England against France this weekend in the Six Nations. Going to focus mainly on England in this video. I will get on to France. The big headline team news, the thing that everyone is going to be talking about is the fact that Marcus Smith starts at fly half for England. Owen Farrell is on the bench. I must admit, I am incredibly surprised by that inclusion. I'm not against it, but I do have a few reservations which I'll go into in this video. Either way, it is a gutsy, bold call from Steve Borthwick, so fair play to him. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe and hit that like button on the video. Appreciate both of those things. But most importantly, as ever, drop a comment down below. What do you make of England's team selection, and what do you make in particular of Marcus Smith starting at 10? All right? Let's get into it. I know many of you will have seen both teams actually by now, but I will flash them up on screen when I get to them. So put England up now. It's an unchanged pack from the victory over Wales. So that's Genge, George and Sinclair in the front row, Itoje and Chesham in the second row, and then Ludlam, Willis and Dombrandt the back row. Jack Van Portfleet continues at 9. Marcus Smith, as I mentioned in the intro, is at 10, with Ollie Lawrence 12, Henry Slade 13 continuing in the centres, and Watson, Malins and Stewart the England back three. So Marcus Smith is the headline team news really here from an English point of view. It's incredibly interesting because Marcus Smith was sent back to Harlequins rather than training with England last week in Brighton. He played brilliantly, and Steve Borthwick has said in the press release that England have sent round that he believes this is the team that has the best chances, the best team to play France this weekend. And I think there's going to be a lot of England fans who are incredibly excited to see Smith play 10. I didn't expect to see this happen for a number of reasons. Number one, I thought Owen Farrell is the captain, and I thought he would still select Farrell, and I didn't think he would necessarily select Farrell at 12, so therefore I thought Farrell would be at 10. And also just in terms of how England are playing at the moment, I think it is a game style that has been better suited to a fly half like Owen Farrell rather than Marcus Smith, because the way England have been playing hasn't been in the way that, say, Harlequins do and the best we've seen with Marcus Smith there. And that's kind of my reservation on this. I hope this works out and I'm really excited to see how it goes. But England have been playing in a way, in my opinion, that won't get the best out of Marcus Smith. So I guess the question is going to be is how do England approach this game? Are they changing the way in which they attack quite significantly and completely giving Marcus Smith the keys to run it and see how he goes? Or is it going to be a similar kick-heavy game plan to what England have been doing? I personally think it will be similar to that because generally that's how Borthwick teams like to play. He's incredibly pragmatic. And I also don't think it makes too much sense to veer drastically away from that when that is how you have set out your stall with how this team is going to play this Six Nations. So those are my concerns. My concerns here is that everyone's going to be really excited about Marcus Smith's inclusion in this team, the fact that he gets to pull the reins at fly half without having Owen Farrell at 12. He's got a proper inside centre in Ollie Lawrence who can get over the gain line at 12. But I fear that England won't play to his strengths. I hope I'm wrong, but that's the reason for my reservations. The other slight part of my reservations here is Borthwick has said that Marcus Smith is the best option. Fair enough, Marcus Smith is a brilliant player. England are in fact in a really good position in terms of fly half, that they have some genuinely outstanding options to choose from of Smith and Farrell, and maybe not quite yet because he hasn't played too much, but you could throw George Ford back in that mix as well. But if Smith is the best option, why send him back to Harlequins? Is it just for game time? Was game time with Quins more important for Marcus Smith than training with England? Because that, in a sense, flies in the face of so much of what we hear at international level, of how important it is time on the training pitch and getting those combinations right. It just doesn't quite make sense to me. But having said that, I completely accept Marcus Smith went away, he played brilliantly, he's back in the England setup, so I love that. I also want to give credit to Steve Borthwick, because even though I have reservations with this choice, I do think, and I mentioned this earlier in the week in a video I did, this is very different to what we would have seen from England coaches and England camps in years gone by, where they say, oh, someone's not really dropped, but then we would never have seen Marcus Smith again. Steve Borthwick has said he wants him to go away, get game time. He's done that, and he comes back in, and he is the starting fly half. So I do admire it from Borthwick's perspective. I just have some reservations, which hopefully I've kind of outlined there, really. But I think it's intriguing. It's really intriguing to see how Marcus Smith goes, but I think most importantly, how are England going to attack? Is Lawrence going to get them over the gain line in a way that Esterhuizen does for Harlequins. Obviously, Dombrandt will be playing as well. Will it be more similar to that style, obviously, with Nick Evans as the attack coach? Or will it continue to be a kind of high-pressure, tactical, possession territory game that England have adopted so far? We'll wait and see. I think it might be the latter. Elsewhere, I also wanted to mention Ellis Genge as captain. Potentially, you know, if we are going to start to see Marcus Smith at fly half more often, and I don't necessarily think this is going to be the start of Marcus Smith being in that 10 jersey. I think it could chop and change, but does it mark a point where Ellis Genge starts to be the regular captain? Because if he's fit at the moment, Ellis Genge starts. Whereas if we're now at a point where even though Owen Farrell is fit, he doesn't necessarily start, do you want your captain to be a guy that's starting all the time? And I think we all know Genge has massive captain credentials in terms of what he did with Leicester, in terms of the influence he has in that squad, respected by the senior players, puts his arm around the younger players. Maybe he could be, in the not too distant future, the regular England captain. Let me know what you think of that in the comments as well. There's just been so much to get into. As I say, I'm really interested in this team news because I didn't expect it. I like the fact there's not too many changes. I actually, even though it wasn't the best of games, thought England did pretty well against Wales. I liked how the back row went. So Ludlam, Willis and Dombrandt, happy to see them again. The partnership of Itoje and Chesham is building. And as I think we all know, that's obviously England's best front row at this moment in time. So not too many surprises. Arundel continues on the bench, by the way. Many people might have liked to see him starting. And Mitchell is also there as the, replacement scrum half. I'd have maybe liked to see Mitchell starting instead of Jack Van Poortvliet. But it is what it is. I like this England team. I'm excited to see what they do. Let's get on to France, because maybe less headline in the way that the Marcus Smith thing is, but the big thing for them, they've made 3 changes, by the way, but Jonathan Danty returns at inside centre. And I think from an English perspective, that is the worst thing they could have possibly seen when they looked at the French team sheet, because I think Danty's absence has been a key factor in why France haven't been as good so far this Six Nations. He's brilliant at being that 12 that gets them over the gain line. He's sensational in defence. He's good over the breakdown and winning penalties in defence. So I think it's a timely return for him because it's a tough fixture for France. Twickenham, they haven't won at, I think it was since 2005. It was the mid-2000s since they last won at Twickenham against England. So yeah, I think Danty could be absolutely key for the French, and to see him back. Elsewhere, Aldegheri is in the front row in place of Haouas, and Jaminet also comes onto the bench for Jalibert. Jaminet, I'm a big fan of Melvin Jaminet. I've really liked him. He hasn't really featured much, didn't feature particularly in the autumn, so him back on the bench, I think he's a really strong contender to come off the bench. And the final thing, just to keep an eye on from a French perspective, is it's the first time the replacement scrum half Maxime Lucu is part of the France 23 this year. So far, Antoine Dupont hasn't been replaced in any games. He's played every single minute. Will Lucu get his first appearance of this year and be the first time that Antoine Dupont is substituted? Again, that's just fairly small point, but one worth keeping an eye on. Ultimately, how do I think this game is going to go? I think England can trouble France. I think they can push them. I think this French side hasn't been playing as well as it has done in recent years. However, I'll be honest, I just think France still will be too strong for England at this stage. Based purely on what we've seen so far in the opening 3 rounds of this Six Nations, the rational part of me just thinks that France is still a better side and France could get the victory. The fact that it's at Twickenham makes it very, very intriguing indeed, but we will wait and see. As I said at the start of the video, subscribe to the channel and like the video if you haven't already. I really appreciate that. And what do you make of it? Marcus Smith starts at 10. Owen Farrell is on the bench. Big calls from Steve Borthwick. I'll see you in the next one.